Could the Chicago Bears have three 1,000-yard wide receivers this season? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Breeze. My name is Philip Charles VanDerHeyden IV, a.k.a. Philly the Fourth. I'm here with you today to discuss a possibility that might seem very impossible, but when you really think about it, is a lot more possible than it sounds at first. Could the Chicago Bears have three, I say wide receivers, pass catchers. Could they have three pass catchers go over 1,000 yards this season? When you really think about it, obviously, the three people that I'm talking about would be Rome Odunze, Luther Burden III, and Colston Loveland. And when you really think about it, is it that crazy? Probably, in my opinion, the biggest thing holding back this possibility is health, right? Especially when you consider Rome Odunze. Rome has unfortunately been on the receiving end of some football injuries that have held back what I believe his true potential is from a production standpoint. He's just, in a couple of seasons, he's turned in between 600 and 700 yards, and it seems middling. But I feel like for those of us, at least, I'm a Rome fan, right? Okay. Clearly, right? I brought this after his rookie season. I think that there is a true number one baller inside of that body of Rome Odunze. Now, there have been a couple of things working against him. Year one, it was everything happening around him, right? Shane Waldron, the disaster of a season that we had after that, and he did get hurt, if I remember correctly. Last year, he started off like gangbusters. Now, he didn't exactly... the completion percentage as far as how often he was targeted and how often he caught the ball over the first 5 games wasn't anything to write home about. And it did actually start a whole narrative of, is Caleb Williams forcing the ball to Rome Odunze? I just think he had the most comfortability with Rome. It's clear that he has a very secure level of comfort with Rome. Every time the game has been on the line, or nearly every time anyway, when it's like fourth down and so to move the chains or whatever, Rome Odunze has been on the receiving end of a lot of game is on the line balls from Caleb Williams. And I think that says something, right? Now, I think Caleb is learning how to spread the ball around. Obviously, as last year progressed, Caleb progressed as a quarterback. And he stopped being a guy who always wanted to force it to his favorite target and started becoming a guy who was going to throw the ball to the open man. And that meant, hey, if that means that one guy's getting iced out for a game because they're playing particularly good coverage against that guy, that's just the way it goes. That being said, Rome did get hurt for a large part of last season. He came back. He played in the playoffs. He had that amazing catch on 4th and 8, backing up my point about, when the game was on the line against the Packers, 4th and 8 on that last drive. Who did Caleb throw it to for one of the most miraculous throws and catches that you'll ever see in your life? It was Rome Odunze. But when when you step out after his season was over and you look at the totality of what Rome Odunze accomplished, it doesn't look very great, right? Like, he had between 600 and 700 yards. And what happened last year is that Caleb took a while to really get going consistently in the passing game. And so he wasn't able to truly, it ended up being that all of his receivers or all of his pass catchers kind of shared the rock pretty normally. I'm not looking at the stats in front of me, but Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore all produced decently well, but none of them, I know none of them, I'm pretty sure none of them went over 1,000 yards. And overall, if you were looking at each receiver from an individual standpoint, with the exception of Luther, because Luther did not have a lot of playing time early and really just came on as the season, started to, go on. And so Luther's production is encouraging, but with Rome and DJ, you looked at it and you were like, But the other thing was the emergence of Colston Loveland. And so I'm bringing this topic up today because Ryan, a good friend of mine, my first ever boss in the sports industry, and he is a senior NFL writer for FanSided. He's fantastic, one of the best in the game, if you ask me. I love his articles. And Ryan actually started off covering the Bears in Chicago sports on DoWindyCity.com, which is where I got my start as a writer. And so Ryan, obviously he covers the entire NFL now, but his true fandom lies with the Chicago Bears. And that's why, a lot of Ryan's articles are excellent, but if you want to see what optimism looks like through a writer's lens, read one of Ryan's articles. He's great at it because he doesn't try to sell you something that can't be sold. Now, if there's a premise that might seem unlikely, like the Bears having 3 pass catchers go over 1,000 yards, Ryan addresses that with the gravitas that one should, because he makes the argument for why this could happen. Now, I'm not going to sit here and read you the entire article because you guys should go and read it. And I will include the URL to the article will be in the video description below. That being said, I will read you some excerpts. And it is worth noting that this premise he didn't come up with the premise. I believe his name was Robert Mays. Let me double check here. Robert Mays on the Athletic Football Show stated something, and I have the article clipped. So here's the first excerpt from Ryan's article. On the latest episode of the Athletic Football Show, Robert Mays offered up a take on wide receivers Luther Burden III and Rome Odunze that would even cause most Bears fans to step back and wonder if he went too far. But on the other hand, if this happens, ... I think there's a world where both of them do, but it's like both of them have like 1,200 yards and Colston Loveland has 1,000, and we're cooking with gas. Every single member of the Bears offense is going to break out this year. Hold up. He realistically sees a world where the Bears have 3 players go over 1,000 yards. So we start off with that premise. So we'll move to the second excerpt here. He talks a little bit about Rome Odunze and his history with last year, which I already covered in this episode. But he goes on to talk about what some might think could hold back Rome Odunze, and Rome had been quoted as saying that he's got to deal with his new normal, and some people, as it pertains to his foot, and some people thought that meant he was going to be slower or he was going to be dealing with pain all the time. Ryan thankfully gives us an update on this. For those worried about Odunze's foot, his new normal, quote unquote, as referenced in the link above, only refers to a callus being in a spot he's not used to. His new normal was never about living in pain or discomfort. It's just about getting used to a callus. That's it. Let's say Odunze begins this season similar to how he began last year, on fire. Except this time, Williams is far more comfortable in the offense and has worked on his rapport with the two of them, being Burden and Rome. So I think this is a great thing to note when you're discussing this possible topic, because obviously if Odunze was playing with pain moving forward, or this was going to slow him down, then that would be something to consider when you're predicting what he's going to be able to do next year. But it sounds like he is completely healthy, and the only thing he meant by his new normal was that he's got a callus on his foot that he's got to deal with. And people have blown that quote way out of proportion. This is amazing news, and I'm very glad that Ryan shared this, because I'll be honest, I hadn't heard that before. And so I was worried about whether Rome would be able to bounce back to himself. But now knowing that, I have no worries about it at all. And frankly, I think Caleb trusts Rome. Maybe he trusts Colston more at this time, because Colston's bigger. And when you need when you need a down, right? When you need a catch and you got to move the chains, it's easy to go to the guy who's the biggest guy on the field, and that's Colston Loveland. That being said, you also need somebody outside the sticks who could do the same thing for you. And I think he does have that trust with Luther as well. It's just worth noting that he's been with Rome longer. But I think Rome is going to be that perfect possession receiver who can make that tough catch across the middle. Not that the other guys can't, but I think Rome is the true route god on this team, in my opinion. He's the guy that could run every route that you have on a tree. Whereas, not that the other guys can't, but I think that like you obviously have a clear advantage with Luther. You want to get him the ball while he's on the run, right? That's his bread and butter. And then with Colston, he's just kind of, as great as he is, he's not always, a tight end is almost never going to have the same route tree ability that a wide receiver has, a true number one wide receiver who could run every route in the book. And that's like Rome is known for crispy routes. That's how he gets open. He's never been a burner. He gets open because he is a master of the fundamentals. He runs the routes perfectly to a T, and him and Caleb are on the same page. As long as he stays healthy, I believe that he's going to have a huge year this year. I really do. It's his third year. He's going to start to come into his own. I really believe that. And I think Luther, whereas Rome might get the majority of the balls at wide receiver, I think Luther's, even if he gets less balls thrown to him, is going to produce just as much, if not more, because of his yak ability. More than Rome, I think Luther will have the ability to take a catch that maybe would only be a 5-yard, 10-yard gain if it was Rome, and he could house it. That's, he's maybe not a true burner in terms of like a Tyreek Hill level speedster, but that's what we got Xavier Thomas for. And I firmly believe that Caleb is going to go over 4,000 yards this year. So when you consider that, he's got 4,000 yards to deal out. And we'll let that take me to the last excerpt that I have from Ryan's article. You add in how both Loveland and Burden finished the season, and well, Mays isn't far off here. It's a wild thought, but the Bears could realistically have 3 players hovering around 1,000 receiving yards by a season's end. Odunze was pacing for 1,115 yards over those first 5 games. Burden was pacing for 1,213 yards over his final 5 games of the regular season, while Loveland was pacing for 1,043 over the last 5 games as well. It sounds absolutely insane, but May's prediction might very well be in the realm of possibilities. And I couldn't have said it any better. That's why Ryan is an NFL staff writer, and he knows how to really, drive a point home with his words. And you can't say it better than that. Is this a guarantee? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But is it within the world of possibilities? Yes. Again, you've got to deal out. If you believe Caleb's going to go over 4,000 yards, right? You start breaking down where those yards go. Now, Mays predicted 1,200 for both Rome and Luther and 1,000 for Colston. Let's just say that happened, right? That's 3,400 yards. Then you consider how does Caleb get over 1,000? Over 4,000. Well, throw a few hundred yards in there to DeAndre Swift, right? Let's just throw. For the sake of, arguing, DeAndre Swift receiving yards last season. So last year he had 299. That's exactly what I was going to say. I didn't want to just throw a number out without some research here. So let's say he repeats that performance, 300 receiving yards. That puts Caleb at 3,700. Now let's just say he's got about 300 more to Cole Kmet, 4,000. And frankly, I think that he's going to hover closer to the 4,500 yard mark. 500 yards for Xavier Thomas. There you go. 500 to Xavier Thomas, 300 to Cole Kmet, 300 to DeAndre Swift, then 1,200 each to Burden and Rome, and 1,000 to Colston. That gives Caleb 4,500 passing yards. And I've addressed everybody. I did not address Monungai, but he's not much of a ball or a pass catcher. He's more of your traditional running back. DeAndre Swift's the pass catcher. And maybe Sam Rush. Obviously, you're going to have some guys like Khalif Raymond's going to probably catch a ball or two in there. What's Ja'Day Walker going to do? So clearly this isn't a perfect scenario. Maybe Xavier Thomas has 300 yards and Ja'Day and Khalif each have about 100 over the season. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe those 3rd and 4th and 5th wide receivers actually get more production from Caleb than I'm giving him credit for. And, if that happens, it's no big deal if we don't have 3 guys go over 1,000 yards, right? I'm just arguing for why it's definitely possible, because I feel like Caleb is about to explode this season. He was at 3,900 something yards last year, and that was while the first half of the season, he was very much a man who clearly looked like he was trying to process a lot of information. He was thinking a lot and not fully reacting. When you have to think so much, you don't always react off instinct, and it's just a little slower, right? You don't do quite as well. This season, he's got a full year in the Ben Johnson system. He's going to know it far better from game one. And I feel like this is the year where Caleb shows the NFL, like, y'all are going to stop playing with me. You want to talk about painted nails. You want to talk about a dress I was wearing. Dude, everyone can talk about all that stuff all they want, okay? Frankly, I don't care if Caleb has 20 pink dildos at his house that he pets when he gets home. There's no truth to that, obviously. What I'm trying to say is I don't care what he does outside of football. And the people who keep talking about what he does outside of football, they're losers who have nothing else to hang on to. After this season, after Caleb goes off like I just feel like he's going to, I know it, man, in my bones. This is the year where Caleb and Ben show the NFL what's up. This is what you have to expect from us moving forward. Deal with it, as you will. But Caleb's on-field play is going to be you're not going to be able to question it. Will his completion percentage jump up? I don't know, but I don't frankly really care. That entire conversation is way overblown. Caleb throws it away more than any other QB in the league because he's very good about living the fight another day, because he knows Ben Johnson will go for it on 4th down. Caleb has said that much in interviews. He will throw the ball away on 3rd down, knowing that Ben might go for it on 4th. So all that stuff is overblown. And frankly, if Caleb was so bad, he was able to get us past a wild card round while not being a completion percentage, quarterback. Wait till he starts taking more of those layups. And to me, frankly, like, he's going to hit more home runs than ever this season. It's not only year 3 for him. It's year 3 for Rome, year 2 for Colston, year 2 for Burden, year 2 for Manungai. You've got a bunch of guys with fresh legs that are hungry under Coach Johnson, who's going to keep them motivated. This will be a special season, Bears fans. You mark my words. And maybe, just maybe, they'll have 3 guys over 1,000 yards from a pass catcher perspective. Maybe not, but either way, whether they do or not, that's just for fun. Because when we're not talking just for fun, all that matters is that Caleb is going to break that 4,000-yard mark. He's going to shut up all the doubters. He's going to hit the gritty on all of these losers after we stunt on them and beat them. And then we're going to be celebrating an undefeated season in the Super Bowl. Just kidding about the last part. But I do think we're going to the Super Bowl. Just not undefeated. I'm not that silly. That'll do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Breeze. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that the Bears can have 3 guys go over 1K? Do you think that there's a possibility that one of the guys that goes over 1K isn't someone that we talked about? I frankly don't think that that's possible. But if you do, let me know. If you think that Ja'Day Walker's about to break out, let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. I'm definitely trying to pump this channel up. Really appreciate everybody who's supporting it. Thank you for watching. My name is Philip Charles VanDerHeyden IV, a.k.a. Philly the Fourth. As always, long live the Chicago Bears, but most importantly, long live you, Breeze Nation. Have a great rest of your night, and bear down, baby.